Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Jessica, your host of A Stronger You. And today's podcast episode is very special because we have a special guest, Olivia, aka Zethera. Thank you for being on my podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so happy you're here. So, the way this idea came about was obviously the last two podcast episodes were part one and part two of talking all about our money healing journey, healing our trauma behind money, how money is energy, and really diving into the energetics behind money so that we can
Mhm.
go from where we don't want to be to where we want to be. And Olivia heard on one of the episodes that I wanted to have a conversation with someone about this because it's able to just really flow better when you're talking to someone versus talking to a microphone. And Olivia is a client of mine and she reached out and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So let's do part three together.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And you manifested that.
I did. Yes. Thank you for saying that. That is a manifestation. I manifested having the most perfect aligned person on this podcast at this time in this space, and it's here. So, yay. And it's on video, which I'm super happy about because I haven't done video in a long time.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, we're just going to dive right in and we're kind of letting this flow. But what I really wanted to start this episode with was our old money story, right? Because before you get to, this abundant, energetic life, when you have a good, healthy relationship with money, like for me at least, it was not always like this. And Olivia, I'm curious to hear from you. Were you always this abundant queen who trusted that money would come in and money just manifest into your life, or were you somewhere else before you were here?
I was a money chaser. I was chasing money, I was spending money, and then when I didn't have money, I was not wanting to look at anything and I was spending money. And I was like, so I was very, very avoidant, not so much secure. Yeah, it was not always I didn't always value and honor my money. It
Hmm.
was just there.
Wow. So
And
it's
I was
like
running after it.
you would have the money, but you would keep going for more. And like I'm curious in that, did you ever feel like you had enough money? Or like why were you chasing more?
I felt like I never had enough money. I felt like there was never enough because there was always more that I wanted. There was always more that I wanted to do with it, more that I just saw so much, but I was really spending a lot of money on food. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. So like you were just spending, which we talked about earlier, like that's not being intentional when we're just like, oh yeah, here's $500 at Sephora, here's $100 on a dinner. Like, sure, we need to eat, sure, we want some makeup, but it's not fully intentional.
Yeah, it was not intentional. It was just, I didn't have purpose.
Mm,
Yeah, I didn't have purpose with my money.
yeah. Wait, I love that your dog's in this. This is amazing.
She
And I
she
also
has to
didn't know
make her
you
debut.
I didn't know you had two dogs.
I do have two dogs and a snake. Like, let me grab my handy dandy water bottle. She doesn't like this thing. If I have it out, then she minds her business.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. They're like, "Ooh, money. I want to be here. Abundance." So yeah, okay, interesting. And do you okay, well, let me ask you this before I go into like my money story. When did you realize that like something had to change? Like because we just kind of go through life knowing, like, not even knowing there's anything wrong with that, right? We're just chasing money.
Yeah,
Like, was there ever like a pivotal moment, like, in your mindset with that?
there was a very pivotal moment. So, like I've always been, ever since I started working, I was making money. And then yeah, I went through all of this stuff and then I started dancing and I really started making money. And that was very frivolous with my money because I was making a good amount of money. And then I got to a point where I wanted things to change in my life. I wanted to move out of my brother's house and move into my own space. I was in and out of my brother's house and back and forth with my ex in and out of his house. And I wasn't cool with it. It's so when it was time for me to buy a house, that's when I was like, all right, I need to do something to save and put my money to work to serve me. That that is when things changed.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow. It's so interesting. And for me, growing up, I definitely like went back and forth between being anxious with money and being an avoidant. And so, I was listening to this podcast and it's so interesting because everything that was said in this podcast I knew, but it was a beautiful like reminder, like a new, like another affirmation to just like refresh. And they were talking about how our money story is learned from how we grow up, our parents, right?
Yeah.
How everything, literally everything is learned behavior, because
Hmm.
we know best because we teach this. Our subconscious mind is most active between the ages of 0 to 7. So, how our parents operated with money, we took that on, or we did the complete opposite. And so, like, I didn't grow up poor. But the mindset that I developed with money was I have to save everything. Like I have to
Hmm.
hold on to it. I have to restrict it. I have to get all this money and save it and not spend it.
Hmm.
And I remember specifically I learned that from my dad because my dad is a big saver. He's like, don't spend all your money, just save it. And
That's my mom.
still to this day, he will say that. And,
Yeah.
you know, I love my dad. He's taught me some actually great things with money. Like I learned how to not be in extreme debt. I learned some good things with it, but it also had me restricted in some areas where I felt like having loans or have being in debt was a bad thing. And it's actually really not a bad thing.
It's not.
Like it's not, it's normal. That's how you build your credit. You're borrowing, or it's different mindset. I'm just borrowing money from the bank. Thank you. So that,
Yeah.
I can do these things and manifest more from it.
Hmm.
And then there was one point in my life where I would just spend and I would not look at my bank account at all.
Hmm.
Never, ever. And for me, it's like I'm trying to think of what was that like pivotal moment in my life. I feel like when I started working with coaches and mentors who
Hmm.
talked about abundance and money, because when you get into the space of personal development, that's like I feel like that's one of the like biggest topics because we all want to be abundant. We all want to learn this
Yeah.
energy, this mindset and really steer away from living in that fear that money's not going to come because fortunately or unfortunately however you want to look at it, money is a huge part of our life and we can't just not talk about it.
Yeah.
And so many people have a fear of talking about it and I get it because that's the norm for society. It's like don't talk about your money, don't tell anyone how much you make.
Yeah.
Like people with money are bad.
It's a fearful mindset. And it's like with with your mindset about everything, if you're living in fear, then that's the reality that you're going to exist in. But if you're living in love and faith, then it doesn't matter if you talk about your money.
Yeah. And oh my gosh. So like I would love to talk about like how do you know that money is going to come back? Like to take that jump, to make that investment maybe for the person who's looking to move out of their house, for the person who's
Yeah,
looking to invest in a coach or for someone who's looking to buy a house. How do you know the money's going to come?
by taking aligned action with intention. You let it, if you love something, let it go, right? You let it go, you give it a purpose, you send it on its way to do its thing. But then you don't just sit around and wait for it to come back. You develop a plan that is going to get you to where you need to be, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes it might just come, but sometimes it might not just come, and you might have to get out of your house and like go down the street and find $100 bill on the ground. Or you might have to make a phone call and then get hired at a job, like whatever it is. Taking aligned action is how you know that it's going to come back, having that connection with the intention that you know everything is going to work out for you.
Yeah. So something that was coming through strong was like, and I hear this question a lot. It's like,
Hmm.
how do I learn how to make more money if I don't know what my skills are, if I don't know what my
Mm,
gifts are? And something that came through to me was like being very generous with your time and
hmm.
energy. So like if you don't have money to invest in this or do this, do you have your time? Do you have your
Hmm.
heart? Because, giving doesn't have to be just with money. You can give support and be of service for
Yeah,
free to just show up and continue to give. And then you're going to receive, like, you're going to
yes,
get a crazy job opportunity. You're going to get a crazy check in the mail if you're just
yeah,
of service. And that's something that I learned really like intensely when I first started my journey of personal development is
yeah,
what it's like to just be of service.
yeah. I love that. And
Yeah.
that is so true. That's so true.
Yeah. Like instead of thinking like, how am I going to make money from this thing? It's like, how can I support? How can I
Yeah.
give? How can I be here and
Hmm.
just be and give?
Yeah, because money is just a form of energy. I like to think about money as the evidence of how we spend our energy. It's like the physical form of our energy in a way.
Mm. And you shared with me before we got on this podcast about
Hmm.
how intentional you are with every single fucking penny you spend. So, can you talk about
Yeah.
that?
I feel like I look at everything in life as a relationship, right? So I have a relationship with money. I have a relationship with my dog. I have a relationship with this glass of water. And if I treat it kindly and I give it intention, then it's going to serve a purpose that's going to serve me. And we have a kind and nice relationship with each other. So when I give my money and intention and I have a healthy relationship with my money is going to take care of me and love me the same way that I take care of it and love it. And it's just this beautiful thing. But before I did not have a relationship with my money. And so money was looking at me like, I don't want to take care of you. You don't take care of me. You just throw me around and you have no intention with me. It's it sounds like a girl that, is mistreated by a guy or something. But yeah, just being kind to my money, being intentional with my money and giving it a purpose has really served me and made it very easy to want to go to work or to want to spend or to want to save because there's a reason behind it that's heart-centered.
Wow, that's just like setting off so many light bulbs in my mind of like treating money as if it's your best friend or your
Yeah.
significant other, something that you love. How about your dog? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, for us dog lovers, like if you ignore your dog, like, wait, maybe dog's not a good example. Because I was gonna say, if you ignore your dog, maybe your dog's gonna ignore you, but the dogs just want to love you, period.
Yeah, let's go with best friend.
Yeah, let's go to best friend, right? So
Yeah.
like, or even a significant other, right? Like you treat them with love, you're
Hmm.
going to receive that back. If you treat them with hate, if you ignore your significant other, if you don't
Hmm.
respond to his text messages,
Hmm.
he's not going to stay. He's going to get up and walk away.
Yeah, you're like she don't even like me. She
Right.
like what am I here for? What am I here for? Money likes to have a purpose.
So if this is resonating with you who is listening right now and you feel like you have or used to have that type of relationship with money of like not looking at it, not showing gratitude toward your money,
Hmm.
This, an action step for you to take after this is start looking at your bank account more. Start carrying physical cash. I don't know if
Yeah.
you listened to the book The Power by Rhonda Barnes yet. It's
Hmm.
like the one that I recommend for all my
I'm
all my
going
people.
through it.
She talks about always having money on you to help
Hmm.
build a like healthier, calmer, secured relationship with it. So you get comfortable seeing it and
Yeah.
always having it faced up.
Yeah. I love to face my bills. Anytime when I'm at work, I'll count my money. All of my bills, and this is crazy, all of my bills always have to face up in the same way. And it's almost like a little ritual that I do every time I get money off the stage or money from a customer. And I feel like when I don't do that, that it stops flowing. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just being
Yeah.
silly, but to me
No, that's
that's I'm like I love it. I love it enough to make it nice and neat and to put it gently and safely away in my purse. Like I don't want to just throw it in there and not care.
it's literally all energy. You're like, oh, well, I don't, it's
Yeah.
like maybe it's just that. No, like you're literally taking the time out to count your money, to place it all
Hmm.
face up, all in the same direction. So money's like, ooh, look at
Yeah,
all this love
unscrunch
I'm
the
getting from
bills.
her. I'm
Yeah.
I want to come back to this woman.
Yes, you do. I love you. I love you. I love you. There's this video that I saw a long time ago really changed my perspective with money.
What was
And I
it?
would love to share it. I wish that I could remember the lady's name. So if anybody has seen this video or knows, I would love for them to be able to mention that. But so it's this woman on stage and she's talking about the seminar that she went to. And she said that this guy came out and it was like one of those personal growth, self-help, like really sweet and wholesome, like wellness seminars. And he comes onto stage, and there's just this room, this huge room full of people. He looks at everybody and pulls this money out of his pocket. And then he just holds it up to the crowd and he's like, ah, I love money. And then just starts kissing his money. He's like, money, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Money, money, money. And then he puts his money down and he asks everybody, he's like, how many of you felt repulsed with me? Disgusted by
Ooh.
me? How many of you felt like I was just like this thick and trashy man that only cares about money? Raise your hand. And so then there's a lot of people that put their hand up, right? And then he was like, I would like to shift your perspective. He said, what if I came out here with my grandson? And I come out here and I'm proud and I hold my grandson up and I'm like, this is my grandson. I love him. I love you, grandson. What would you think? How would you feel then? Would you be like, that's so sweet, like how sweet he loves his grandson? Or would you be repulsed? And people were like, yeah, that would be sweet. And he said, money is a form of energy. If you treat your money like you love your money in that kind of way, then, your money is going to love you. But if you are repulsed by it and you just think that you shouldn't like love it and care for it, then that's the relationship that you're gonna have with it. And I was like, oh, oh, money. I love money. I love money. Yeah, man. I was like, that really changed my life a lot, thinking about it like that. So hopefully that resonates with some of the listeners.
Wow, I've never heard that story before, and I love that. Like, and it's so interesting because sometimes, and I would love to do this more of the time, but like, let's say I receive a check in the mail, or let's say I find a penny on the ground. And if I'm with people, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, yay, like five, even if it's $5, yay, $5, yay, abundance, yay, yay, yay. And
Yeah.
I do it most of the time. But it's a very, and I don't know how they feel on the other end, but for me, it's coming from a space of like me just deeply showing appreciation and gratitude toward money versus like,
Hmm.
oh, she's like a stuck-up, cocky, rich bitch.
No, I just appreciate things, all right? Life can be sweet. Things can be sweet.
Yeah. Things can be sweet, things can be easy, things can be precious, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
something. Go ahead.
if you feel that way, then that's how life's gonna be. That's it.
And how you do one thing is how you do all things. And if,
Yeah.
money isn't anything different. Money is time and energy. So how do you
Yeah.
value your time? And how do you
Hmm.
value your fucking energy? Like,
Yeah.
I used to be the one, to almost make fun of rich people because
Hmm.
I would be like, "Ah, they won't even spend money. Like, why don't they just spend it? They have it, just spend it. Like, why do they care what they spend their money on? Because
Yeah.
you hear, for me at least growing up, I would see rich people that would be in like be like, oh, it's supposed to be this price, or like even ask how much it is. And I'd be like, why do they even care? They have all the money in the world. And
Yeah.
something that always stuck with me after I like would judge them would be like, wait, maybe that's why they have so much
Yeah.
money is because they
Yeah.
actually care about what they spend it on.
Yeah, they're intentional. Yeah. That's very that's very funny. It's funny how when when you don't have a healthy relationship with it, that it like that's the way that you can see things. But and that's with everything in life. The more that you value something, the more that you want to take care of it. And I think that money is, that people are like money is the root of all evil, but I really think that money is the source of understanding how to care in some ways, like because we all need money to survive, right?
Yeah.
So we go through life and experience these different things, and sometimes we got money, sometimes we don't have money, and so you have to learn how to value it.
Mm.
And the energy or the attitude that you have towards money at any point in time in life is such a good teacher for your becoming, I feel.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, being super intentional with how you spend it, right? Because just because you have it doesn't mean you have to go out and buy the next designer bag. Like, what is
Yeah.
that doing for you? Yes, treat yourself. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
Taurus. Like, I believe, like, I
I
love
didn't know
bougie.
that.
Like,
I love
yeah,
that.
I love bougie things. But
Hmm.
I'm so, and it's for me, I think that all shifted for me was when I got robbed. I'm, yeah,
I did not know that.
I know I need to start sharing more of my life.
What the heck? I was like,
I
gasp.
I
Girl,
moved,
what?
yeah, I moved to Austin, Texas, maybe 2 years ago. I don't live there anymore. I'm out. But I was there, I moved about 2 years ago, and I drove there from Miami with all my designer stuff inside two big Louis Vuitton duffel bags so I could remember to bring them inside.
Uh-huh.
I parked the car, I forgot to bring them inside.
Oh,
There was like way over
oh,
$10,000 worth of designer stuff. Some of it was
oh.
sentimental. Some of it I just bought with my own, well, most of it I bought with my own money. And all that to say, I realized that at that moment, like before that, I was letting designer define me.
Mm-hmm.
Like define me. Like when I walk into a room, only people are gonna look at me if I have designer on, if I'm wearing the nicest things.
Yeah,
And that, it just got taken from me. And I'm like, whoa,
this is not your value.
it's
You
not.
are your value.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like,
Wow.
would I rather spend $2,000 on a Louis Vuitton bag or on a trip to the Bahamas?
Mm-hmm.
Like now I get to do both, but
Yeah,
it's like being super intentional because like that
yeah,
if money is like, oh, I just spend you recklessly, then money's not going to
yeah,
feel appreciated. She's not going to come
yeah.
back.
Mm-hmm. I feel, man, I feel that there are points in time in my life where I'll get oh, I'll get stressed out and I would spend my money I would spend my money on food, like, because I would stress eat, right? And
Mm.
so whenever I would get stressed out, and it didn't matter if I had money, it didn't matter if my money was running low, whatever, I would go out and I would spend like $150, $200 on like just food and drinks for myself. And I had to go through that a few times and see how toxic that was for myself because I'd feel like shit the next day eating all of this food that wasn't serving me. And then I would be even more stressed out, like, why? Like, and then I go over my finances for the month and I have this bill spreadsheet where I track my finances and I like to go in manually and do everything because if I'm eating out too much, then I have to do the walk of shame, is what I call it. I highlight all of the times where I eat out in bright red so I can see visually
Mm.
where my money is going. And yeah, oh, I'm losing my train of thought. I hate when that happens.
It's
Come
okay.
on back here, come on back here. Long story short, I was reckless with my money, spending my money on food, and then we're landing. I would, yeah, spend all my money on food, and there are times where I should not have done that. And then when I went through this lesson a few times, it really showed me how to value my money, how to value my body, and how to be intentional with my spending, how to be intentional with my nervous system when I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
Because what I would spend on one night at like Olive Garden or whatever, whatever place I decided to go, I could have went to the grocery store and bought food for like a week and a half, 2 weeks and meal prepped, and then would have felt better and
Mm.
healthier, ate more. And so just intention, intention is everything, really paying attention to and it's to where your money goes and how you spend it, but it's okay to eat out and like treat yourself sometimes, but just like what is the intention?
Yeah.
What is the intention?
And that is probably the most fucking powerful question to ask because everything we do is intentional, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. So if we can
Hmm.
just be more intentional with everything in life, like that's all we need. Like sometimes
Yeah,
all you need to do is set your intention and be clear of it. And
yeah,
you could heal from a lot of stuff, right? Like
yeah.
it doesn't have to take this huge grand thing, this huge breakthrough to happen in your life for you to
Hmm.
have this shift. Maybe it's this podcast. Maybe it's a story that Olivia just shared. Maybe it was my
Hmm.
designer bag story. Like it doesn't have to be like a deep meditation that you're in for 5 hours. It could be something simple.
Yeah, and something else I would like to add that just I'm so glad it didn't fly away out of my brain. The first question you ask is, what is the intention? What is my intention? And then the second question, is it serving me in my highest good? Is this in
Mm,
alignment with my greatest success?
that part.
Because you can have like all of those times that I bought all that food and eaten out. My intention was to treat myself because I deserve it. I'm stressed out. I deserve it. I'm going to treat myself. But if I would have asked that next question, is it serving me and my purpose and my highest good with my fitness goals, with my money goals, with my my success goals, like all of the things? Do I really need to do this? I feel like it's self-love in a higher form when you check in and ask yourself, is this serving me in my highest good?
Two very powerful questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like putting the icing on the cake. What is my intention? And is this because it could be something that doesn't serve you, but you might still do it without asking yourself that second question. So, is
Hmm.
this serving my higher self, my highest good, my highest success, what my future self desires? Really, really powerful. And I kind of want to, the way I want to wrap this up to an end is I want to talk about how, for me at least, it's not always sunshine and butterflies. There are still times where I have to be like, Jess, you're being an anxious attachment style with money. Stop right fucking there. Stop avoiding. You have it on your calendar to look at your bank account, open that shit. Spend the money, it's going to come back.
Yeah,
So it's like I just become more aware of it, but just because, you've gotten here or you see someone who's a millionaire also don't mean that they are in this energetic abundant state all the time.
yeah. And it can be hard to, I don't think that we're honestly, I don't think that we're meant to be in that state all the time because if we were in that state all the time, then I feel like we would not value it as much. There are times where you're not going to be in that state, but being able to return back to center and have the appreciation for your intention for your
Yes.
money, for the value. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
And you're so right about that because, one of the laws of the universe is the law of polarity. So you can't have
hmm
good without bad. You can't have dark without light, um, abundance without fear. So it's like, I love
Yeah,
that you said that because that is natural. It's natural to not always be in a high because you'll also burn the
yeah.
fuck out. Like sometimes you're going to be down here, sometimes you're going to be up here.
Yeah. But returning to center is always I think that's the trick of life, period. Learning how to
Mhm.
return back to your center. And
Enter,
yeah,
yeah.
it's not always there are times where I am so avoidant. And that's why I had to make that spreadsheet, man. I had to make that spreadsheet because then it gives me a way to communicate with my money, right? So
Yeah.
like I like it gives my money its own space, time, and purpose where like we get to sit down and have our own little conversation. And when I'm not checking in with my spreadsheet at least once a week, I know that my money, I'm like, ooh, I don't know what's going on with my money right now. My money probably don't like me, so I need to sit down and talk to her. Hey baby, how you doing? How we doing? How am I spending? Do you still love me? I love you.
Yeah. Wow. Such a good conversation on this episode. Wow. Olivia, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful that you asked because when you ask, you receive. I asked it, I put it
Yeah,
out there, then she asked me. This is how manifesting happens, ask for
period. Yeah.
it.
I had so much fun. I love any time that we get to sit and chat, and I think that this is just so delightful, and it's going to help so many people have many different perspectives. We hit a lot of stuff today.
We definitely did. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Olivia, what is your Instagram if everyone wants to find you?
My Instagram handle is at untethered.living, and it's also the same on TikTok
Amazing.
and YouTube.
Amazing. Amazing across all platforms.
Yeah,
Yay.
keep
Well,
it
thank you
simple.
so much for coming on. And
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
yay. I'll see you guys next week in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.